Good afternoon, everyone. I am so unbelievably excited about this episode coming at you guys today from MarkTalk. My name is Mark Levy, and this is going to be great. When I started doing this show about 3 weeks ago, I was like, I wanted to talk to people I respect. I want to do silly things. I want to have meaningful conversations. I want to work things out because my brain's going crazy. This is a big one. When I made a list of guests that I wanted, and the list was literally one person, and she is here. But before I bring her out, oh my god, I want to say, subscribe to this channel. You're going to see a lot of cool things Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. I like to post things. On Fridays, we have Brant Steeles. On Wednesdays, we have interviews. So far, everyone I've interviewed is a badass woman. That makes me very, very happy because fuck yeah. Yeah, and also thank you guys for subscribing and liking and supporting the show. If you have any comments or questions for Sharifa, you can leave them in the comment board. Of course, like this, subscribe, all that good stuff. This is just, oh my god, I'm just such a happy little nerd right now. Okay, so our guest today, like I said, I had a list of one person when I made this. She is a director of theater, which makes me very happy. She's, for the people that like Sequester, she was the second two-time winner in Sequester, one of my favorite mini of all time, which is the Shadows mini. She's now an RHAP podcaster. I'm just gonna bring her out right now. I can't do any better. Sharifa Yasmin.
Hi everyone. Mark, can you do my intro wherever I go? Because that was the sweetest, kindest. Thank you. I needed that boost today of positivity.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would gladly will. I mean, I think I tweeted at you a long time ago because I'm an actor and writer and you're a director. I'm like, God, yeah. I wish our types of theater would line up in a way that we could work together, you know?
Well, what type of theater do you do? We have not had this conversation. This is
we actually really haven't. Yeah,
no,
I feel like every time we've had conversations with 10 other people at least.
Are those 40 people Zoom calls that are kind of terrifying for me? So I join them once in a blue moon.
Yeah, and you're just like, okay, can I talk? Okay. So my type of theater tends to be, so I started writing plays for myself as an actor since I'm a young character actor a few years ago, and my stuff tends to be on the silly side. I like a lot of weird hyphens in my plays.
Got you.
I know that your stuff tends to be more social issue, which is, oh my god, I
tend to be very, very dark, very dramatic, very emotional.
Yeah. And also, I tend to only work with female directors too, because as a straight cis white male, it's that thing of maybe I have someone that's a different perspective than me, and be able to help with everything, you know.
Gender, it's really interesting because gender in directing, I think, is actually a very interesting subject to dive into, because I think for me, I have a very interesting experience that I've sort of delved in both. And most people aren't aware, I transitioned very recently. It was 2 years ago, which in the grand scheme of things is fairly recent. And I was doing my a directing apprenticeship at Actors Theater of Louisville.
One of the best theaters in the whole world, really.
I have a lot of love for that place. And that was really I hate using the word break, but that was for me as a director, because directing is such a cutthroat industry, as I'm sure you're aware. Breaking in as a director and directing regionally is not an easy thing to accomplish. And so Actors Theater of Louisville was a really great step for me in terms of unlocking a lot of doors that had been closed for me as an early career director. But it was in the middle of that fellowship, and what happened is it was the first time I was ever exposed to other trans people. And I was still trying to have an understanding of what my directing style was. And you were still figuring that out. You know, I was still in the grand scheme of things, I was a baby director.
Yeah.
And there was sort of this idea of the kind of director that I should be. And I think in theater, it's so dominated by cis, straight, white male voices and this sort of authoritarian style of theater. That's very Eurocentric and very masculine. And that was something that I was attempting to emulate because I was associating masculinity with leadership, which the two things don't coincide necessarily. It's they're two separate things. They shouldn't influence each other.
It's also a very antiquated idea too, also.
And the thing about it is no one is like going into a theater room saying that like leadership is masculinity. It's subconscious. We like identify with deeper tones. We tend to look for male figures when it comes to discipline and structure and all those things. So we're not even consciously aware of that. And I've never felt like I was taken seriously in a rehearsal room, and I was trying to, because of my femininity, and I was trying to emulate this sort of like masculine idea of what it means to be a leader without even consciously being aware that's what I was doing. I would deepen my voice. Other things that I'm not going to go into on the podcast. But yeah, and when I transitioned, I had another fellowship. It was for the Drama League up at Hangar Theater. Which has such a place in my heart. I love that place. I love the Drama League. And it was the first time that people only knew me as Sharifa. And I got to like truly embrace my directing style, which is so feminine. And so it's so much about like having empathy for everyone in the room and being a conduit for all the voices, every voice, because theater succeeds when it's truly a collaboration. Yes. And when you shortcut that collaboration, it just becomes one person's idea instead of a melting pot of so many different voices that are sculpting this one beautiful thing. I'm very earthy when it comes to my direction.
Oh no, I actually am too. Like I come at things from like an ensemble background mentally. Like that's what my college was. And like so, and also have a strong background in improv. So like I'm very big on the whole idea of like an ensemble, like even like so like my most recent play, it's a solo play where I wrote it and I'm in it. And my director, she is part of the ensemble. My stage manager is part of the ensemble. Like because we're all trying to get the most humor and light and love out of what we're trying to do. So you connect with the audience.
Yeah, and you feel it as an audience member. Like I remember when I went to go see Come From Away, which was my very first Broadway show. The only reason I was able to see it was because it was a part of our Professionals Week for Drama League, and it got us tickets. I'm not a musical person, Mark. Don't come at me for that. I'm not a big musical person.
I love all theater, so like except for like really experimental theater that
you're better than me. I have like my niche. I love drama. I love a good comedy if I'm not directing it.
Okay.
And that's sort of it. Musicals, I like very rare musicals. Fun Home is probably the only musical I really want to direct.
Fun Home I have a very weird experience with, but I love that show so much.
Listen, I've assistant directed that show. I've stage managed that show. I literally have every single lyric like embedded into my brain forever. Yeah. But from Come From Away, I remember watching it and being very impacted by it. I thought it was beautiful. But remember watching the actors on stage, I didn't know that this was like the 1000th performance or whatever of it was. You could tell that they were still passionate about doing it. They were still in love with doing it and excited about doing it. And it just changes everything about watching the show as an audience member. It makes it electric. It makes like you care about it because the actors care about it, because everyone involved cares about it. And that comes from a theater room that is full of life and love and joy. And that is what theater is supposed to be, in my humble opinion.
And I think Matt agrees too.
Hey, Matt.
It's just like, there's nothing like being in a room like with like 200 plus people and we're all just staring at something happening on stage and a lot of love has gone into. Like the most recent play I saw was Dana H. At the Vineyard Theater. And it was like right before everything shut down in March. And it was by Lucas Nath, who I'm sure you're aware of.
Yes.
Yeah.
I met him at Actor Theater of Louisville. We had a very awkward moment together.
He's an awkward person when I met him, but he's like amazingly talented.
I think he's so my experience with him, Actors Theater of Louisville, the rehearsal rooms are on the 4th floor and it's gender neutral restrooms. Okay. So which is an interesting experience, especially like when I was there, I was transitioning. So like suddenly it was great for me because suddenly I'm in the bathroom with like men and women and non-binary people all at the same time. But I was leaving the bathroom while he was opening the door to the bathroom. And so it was this perfect awkward moment where we're both going for the door. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. And he was just like, and then just like a beeline. Never said hi to me in my life. But he's so talented and a very interesting guy.
Yeah, I met him right before Dollhouse Part 2 opened. Like in the Brooklyn Book Festival, they had him, Annie Washburn, and another playwright up on this like panel. And it was all just like really cool, like interesting off-Broadway playwrights. And I got really excited about it because I loved Mr. Burns, her play that was off-Broadway a few years ago at Playwrights Horizons. Did you hear about that play?
No, I'm not familiar.
It's a play all about storytelling. It's after like the apocalypse. And there's 3 acts. The first act is like people huddled around a fire, literally just recounting the Cape Fear episode of Simpsons. And it's like super intense, but like, cause like there's like something out in the distance. Like people have guns and like they're just recounting the whole episode. Then the second act is like 20 years later, and these stories have taken on like a religious vibe to them, but like kind of like in a funny way. And then the third act is like 100 years in the future, and these are like Bible stories.
Oh,
and like they act out all like the whole Cape Fear episode of Simpsons, like with Sideshow Bob, like with the rakes and everything, and it was just insane.
I've never watched an episode of Simpsons in my life, but that sounds like a fascinating play that I really want to read.
If I ever get to meet you in real life, I will get you the play.
COVID won't last forever.
I know. But like, I was so sad because like I knew that you lived. Like once I heard about you, it's like right when you were moving back to North Carolina.
Yeah, South Carolina, but it was. Yeah, it was interesting because I actually delayed my move because of Sequester Winners of War 1.
Yeah.
I now have to differentiate between the two. But yeah, so I was in this really weird position where I did grad applications right at the end of my fellowship for Actors Theater of Louisville. Okay. And I got accepted into a university, but it was 2 years out, or with a 2-year deferral. And I was very morally conflicted about the whole situation, put my life on hold for 2 years because I really wanted to go to grad school. I really wanted a grad education. And I was trying to figure out what am I going to do in between that time. And a mentor of mine at Actors Theater was like, you should really, I know you don't want to move to New York because I didn't. You should consider moving there because let's look at it. You have a lot of relationships there, a lot of connections there. There's a lot of alum there that can help you. So I made a decision after saying I would never move to New York City to move to New York City to freelance for a year. And that was a very interesting experience.
I hope somewhat in a good way.
Everything grows you. Well, no, it was. I think I'm just the one person who just doesn't have a desire to be in New York City.
It's a tough city. It's not for everyone. It's not like, I mean, like it's a weird thing where I've been here for 11 years now. My brain's like, do I want to be here forever, or do I want to like move to LA? Like I went to LA last year for over a week to like experience LA, and it was amazing. And like it's interesting, like where feels right for you as a theatrical artistic person?
DC.
That is awesome.
I did an internship there for a year. I love DC and our theater scene.
What theater was it with?
So this was my very first internship, and it was just like, it was such a generalized, it was like production, marketing, everything. It was for Theater J in DC.
Yes, I actually seen a show there.
Amazing. That's so Theater J is known for a lot of what is his name? Stupid Effing Bird.
Oh my! I know what you're talking. I know who you're talking about.
They premiered Stupid Effing Bird. I'm pretty sure they premiered his Uncle Vanya adaptation, which I can't remember the name of it. Life Sucks. So they have a pretty intimate connection with them, but they're run out of a Jewish community center.
Yeah. And one of my ex-girlfriends used to work there, and I saw their version of Our Town, which wasn't Our Town. It was a different name of it. But it was like jarring and beautiful and shocking.
I love that. If you are in DC, if you're planning a trip to DC, go watch a show at Theater J. It is an incredible theater. They do a lot of, at least they used to, a lot of like very politically engaged pieces. Sparks, I used to live in Raleigh when I was a wee person. I was this big. I lived in Raleigh, North Carolina.
She was 6 inches tall.
I was 6 inches tall. Yeah. When I was up until the age I think about 7, from 4 to 7, I lived in North Carolina.
And DC is a great city. Not right now, but it's a great city.
I love DC, and I love their theater scene. It's very political. It's very edgy. It's very impactful. A lot of what's hitting regional theater really starts circulating in DC before it goes out into regional theater. It's just my favorite theater scene.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh God, I'm just. Oh, that's funny. I love you seeing what Jacob just wrote.
I anytime Sparks says something, I feel it in my soul, and I lose a year of my life.
Like Sparks is literally one of my favorite people I've met in this community. I met him and then immediately voted him out in Sequester, which is a regret of mine that I own.
That was your first. So you played the Sequester, the Robin's first one, before she did the 42,000 ones.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah, because 530 we're very close to each other, even though we both vote each other out in games and get mad at each other. It's how it happens.
That was the first mini after Winners at War. I watched it from a motel room on my drive back to South Carolina.
I feel like I basically did the same thing because I was out of that game really quick because someone decided that my name was not Mark and I was someone different. And they called me an other, which was really fun.
An other?
The person that we don't talk about in the community.
Oh, that one who was very quickly excommunicated.
Yep. Hey, it's always fun to have controversy attached to you, right?
We love controversy.
When did you fall in love with theater?
Oh, I actually know the answer to this. So I was in middle school, and we have to remember about me, and it's one of the reasons. I don't know. Oh, this is such a longer moment, but if you see me in those Zoom calls when people are like very sweet or whenever anyone's really kind to me, it's very new to me. Like you have to remember that my upbringing was very different. I was raised as a boy and I was extraordinarily feminine because I wasn't a boy. And I was pretty ostracized for that. So in like elementary school and in middle school, you know, I was very much a loner. No one really wanted to talk to the weird kid who wanted to paint their nails pink and had talked with a lisp and really wanted to hang out with the girls, but was weird for that. So I was very much a loner. And theater, it was middle school when I transferred. It was right when we moved to South Carolina and I transferred to a new school. I was pretty outcasted immediately, but the one place that I was sort of kind of accepted was the theater room. And we started doing, it was one of those things that if you auditioned, you got into the show.
Yeah.
And I played one of the Lost Boys in the director's written version of Peter Pan, and I was the dumb, stupid, funny one, which then became my role in every show that I did in high school. But it was just like there was something about being another character that like I had the lines memorized. I knew what was happening, where I could step outside my head because I was so hyper conscious of how I was portraying myself to everybody and how everyone was taking me and trying to be accepted by everyone. And just like being able to actually like step out of my own head because I had these like known lines. I knew what was happening. I knew I was going to be safe. It was the most freeing experience I ever had. And that was like, once I got hit with that, I was sold on theater and I've been with it ever since.
That's amazing, man. I feel like I love that type of story. Like, because I feel like most people that come to theater because like outcast, not because I'm the cool kid.
Yeah,
pretty like much. I was the weird kid, and like my grandparents raised me loving Rodgers and Hammerstein. I can't sing, and my other side grandparents took me into a lot of theater as a kid, and like been in love with theater ever since. Like I remember like it's so funny how I feel like every middle school there's always a director that writes their play and has the kids play it up. Yeah, mine was called "The Apes Shall Inherit the Earth." And it was myself and two other guys, and we were on the lip of the stage with like steps at the auditorium. And I remember it was the most dangerous costume I've ever been in my entire life. And we did not know that the director wrote the play until after the play finished. I remember there was one day where he had us moshing in the play, like listening to music. Like it was like just figuring out like it was like a post-apocalyptic like play like
We love a good post-apocalyptic thriller. Let's go.
But I remember there was one day where I was moshing into the other guy, and my ape head flew off my body. And I remember I was trying to clutch onto it while like being an ape. And it was really traumatizing, but in a fun way.
As a theater, traumatizing, but in a fun way. That is the tagline.
When did you realize you want to be a director?
So it was college. The issue that I was finding, and I sort of understood this, and it's why I've been really passionate about being a director and creating opportunities, is I knew that because of my effeminance, that I was going to be consistently typecast, and that the only roles that would be available to me were stereotypes, when they specifically wanted to cast a stereotype, specifically like queer men, and like the very, very, very gay version, because my effeminance was translated as queerness. And it was so understood by me that I just knew that having a career in acting was never going to happen. And it was pretty quickly reinforced from being at school and not being able to go out for roles because of that. And it was like the few queer roles that were there, I was too gay for them. And then the one time I was getting cast was so I could be a stereotype. It was just reinforcing all these things I already understood. And I was like, I love theater and I love acting. I don't know why I don't know what I want to do if it's not acting. And I remember having a conversation with my advisor, who ended up becoming my mentor, and he was like, well, you have the opportunity as an upper level theater major, you have the opportunity to propose and direct a full-length show, a part of the season. And I don't know what it was, but the second he said that opportunity, I was like, wait, I could be a director? I get to be the guy telling everyone what to do? I could be that person? And I was like, I was just so hooked on that idea. Like, I knew the second he said it, I was like, I'm going to be a director. And like, without ever doing it. And we had a 24-hour play festival, which is the first time I ever directed. It was this cute little lesbian meet cute story, which was very apt for me, called Hypotheticals. It was very adorable. It was a cute little 10-minute play. And I directed that. I had no idea what I was doing. And then I signed up to do directing 2, which is where you direct a part of the One Act Festival.
Yeah. And
my friend wrote a play. It was my first new play. And I was like, let's do it. It was called To Dry Your Eyes. It was very melodramatic. I put together this whole like sad romantic comedy playlist to it. There was a lot of like Regina Spektor, and it just like, I thought it was genius when I was making it, and I went back and I watched it. Like, oh, girl, what are you doing? But I remember sitting in the audience watching that show come to life. And it was like, I had never gotten this feeling from acting, because acting, I like was really hard on myself. But from like putting together this show with all these people and seeing it happening on opening night, it was like a euphoric high for me. It was like doing drugs. It just, that feeling of watching the show and see everything coming together, it was just the most amazing, cathartic, emotional experience. And at that point, I was like, I'm a director. That is what I am. Watching this awful show that I thought was brilliant, I had that moment.
But I mean, it's that, like, just like that, we're like, oh my God, that click,
Well, and I think another thing for me was that, like, I wanted to change the scope of what characters looked like. And that's something I've been doing ever since I started directing, but like giving opportunities to those who don't normally get opportunities because they don't fall into this default of what we believe a lead or a character should look like, which is usually cis, straight, and white. And that was something that was really important to me, is like changing the scope of what characters looked like. One of the full length that I ended up proposing and directing was Next Fall by Jeffrey Knopf's.
Oh, I love that play so much.
I adore that.
I saw it on Broadway and just like was like, this is gonna be like, the poster was so cute, and then like you sit play like, this is kind of funny. Like, oh no, I'm just gonna cry this whole play and laugh at the same time.
It's one of the funniest, saddest plays. I'm trying to remember the actor. I'm Googling it now. I've worked with him and I'm trying to remember his name, but he originated the role of Adam on the Broadway version. And I just worked with him at Manhattan Theater Club. He is Patrick Breen.
Yes.
The quirkiest man you'll ever meet. But yeah, I think for me that show was always done as, oh, hey Braden, was always done with a white, majoritively white cast.
Right.
And it was really important to me that I wanted to mix that up a little bit. And I ended up casting an amazing, talented, brilliant Indian American actor. His name is Shivam Patel. I think he's getting his MFA right now, and I can't wait for him to come out of the UK, hopefully come back to America, because he is just an extraordinary actor. And I cast him as Luke in next fall. And so, and I think my Holly was an African-American woman who's also an incredible director. Her name is Jasmine Gunter. But it was really important for me to like, not just diversify the show, but like actually cast the right people for the show, because I think that's the difference.
There's a huge difference to that, yeah.
People assume that like diversity means like taking opportunity from the person who deserves it, who is like a cis white person, and giving it to somebody who doesn't deserve it, but because they're of color, that's why they're getting it. No, diversity and inclusivity is about putting the right person in the part. That's it. Point blank and the period. Yeah. It's about allowing opportunity without unconscious bias to influence who you see as the best person for the part. And Jasmine and Shivam were the best people for the part, and they killed it. They were extraordinary. They both won acting awards for it. And I'm so proud of that show, because oftentimes we're not aware that we're naturally thinking, I'm going to see the default in this character. And we're going to be like, oh, I'm going to see this pretty white person and automatically think that they are the best person for that part, because it's how we envision that role naturally without being aware that's what we're doing.
Yes.
So it's really important for me to break down that barrier and to provide opportunity for those like myself who haven't had that opportunity. Yeah.
Great. Oh my God. This is like this. I want to like just talk to you like for like the rest of my life about theater, just because.
Always. I love talking about theater.
Like, it's so funny how you're going to be having the exact same thoughts about theater, yet we are such different theater makers. But I love it.
Theater's expansive. Like, that's what's so brilliant about it. And it's like, I hate when we try to like structure the one set way to do theater. There isn't. Like, the whole thing about theater has always been a bunch of quirky people who were probably a little weird and maybe a little bit of outcasts who got together and wanted to tell stories. Like, that's theater. And like, you don't get to market exactly how to tell a story. It's why I hate when we get really critical about structure, especially this idea of like, theater follows Eurocentric story structures and how a story is told, and those are oftentimes what we compare to when we critique theater. If it's not structured in that way of having like beginning, middle, climax, post-climax, ending, if it doesn't follow those structures, then we tend to admonish it as a poorly constructed piece of theater. And I really embrace authors who are trying to break those sort of story structures and try to bring in different structures. And one of my favorite authors is Naomi Wallace, who I think does that quite often. She very much like scatters her stories and her plots and her climaxes, where they actually follow more of a female climax than this idea of like a male climax, because that's what it is. You build, you boom, and then you die out. Whereas like these sort of like female orgasm plays, which I love to call them, it's like you go up and then you're back down, and you're up and you're back down, and you're up and you're back down. And it's pieces like The War Boys by Naomi Wallace, In the Heart of America by Naomi Wallace. I love those structures because it's like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
You're going up and down and up and down. You don't know when the ride's going to end, but you high-key don't want it to, even though you're terrified. I really like breaking up structures and allowing for theater to be whatever it wants to be, because theater gets to be as inclusive and expansive as it wants. That's when theater is truly magical.
Yes. Wow. Oh my God. Okay. I want to talk about how'd you get to sequester?
Yeah. So the two loves of my life, theater and Survivor, and basically like strategy related games. Because for me, and it's actually sort of why I wanted to get into theater, because it was Sari Fields on Survivor Exile Island. It was the first time. Oh God.
I've met her. I've talked to her on a Zoom call.
She should have won. I like every single time she's played, she should have won. But I saw her on Panama, and like you have to understand, I am growing up seeing cis white characters that I am supposed to connect with and don't because I am so different from them. Mm-hmm. And here's this woman of color who is immediately admonished and like not valued by her tribe. She's an outsider who's able to come in and end up running the entire game. As a woman of color, I connected with that. I saw myself in her for the first time ever out of all the movies and TV shows I'd ever watched. I finally connected with somebody and I was hooked ever since. And I studied Sharifa Field's game. If people notice my sequester gameplay, I tend to model my game off of Sharifa Field's, like making social connections, being, if I trust you, I'm willing to go all the way to the end with you. But if I don't, you can't believe a word I say. Like, she's just a strategic, social mastermind, and it made me feel important. It made me feel like if Sharifa Fields can be that bitch, I can be that bitch. And that's when I started to sign up for orgs, and I played Tumblr Survivor, which is the only other org I've played outside of Sequester. And I did that like 5 years ago. It was before I transitioned, or 6 years ago. It was when I was 21 or 22. And I signed up to play Survivor Tonga, and I won. I came back, won again, came back for a half winners, half best and ever win, made it to the final three. I was a 2-time winner, lost because no one wanted to see a 3-time winner, which feels very apropos for my current situation. And then I came back after having a few year hiatus, after transitioning as Sharifa for a 4th season, and where I placed 7th, which was my same placement for Winners of War. And I just missed it, and I want to get back into it. And someone told me about Sequester, and I was like, okay, I'll try it. I had never watched any of the minis. I had seen season 2 of the live version, never watched any of the minis.
Incredible, yeah.
Which is great, and it's weird because now, like, I know Kim, and I've been in chats with CJ. It's very strange to like meet these people. But I had only seen season 2. I didn't remember that much about it. Never seen a mini. Signed up for my first one. Didn't have an absolute clue what I was doing. All I did in my first mini, and people don't believe me when I say this. They think I'm trying to downplay my game. I just made people like me. That was it. My first mini, I made people like me. And then when I got to 6, I realized that I did not have a resume. All of my allies had been eliminated, and I wasn't going to win. And so I was like, okay, if I want to win this game, I have to dominate and dictate the rest of this game. So at 6, once we were all put in a room, and part of it for me was that I'm not good at like running around trying to like get plans together. Yeah. I'm a director. You put me in a room with a bunch of people, I know how to get them to do what I need them to do. But I need them all in the room. And at 6, when we're all in the room, I was like, we're going to stay here. And what we're going to do is we're going to vote out Hamid because he's in a duo with Bryce. And y'all can't go to the end with a duo. Hamid left. I said, all right, Angela and Jonathan are a duo. Jonathan got immunity, so we got to vote for Angela. Angela leaves. I'm at Final 4. That was my game. That really was my game.
Which is like your game in Shadows, too, because, like, I mean, your different Shadows is so fucking legendary. I mean, watching Podquester while that game was happening, seeing you through your internet issues, and then, like, it's because, like, when you disappeared, because I have Podquester on different tab, and then I have Sequester, I watch it with Sequester Access. And then I just like heard the screaming, and then I heard Sharifa, and then you hear to my screen. And then like watching, if you guys haven't seen Sharifa's disappearance from Podquester into the game of Sequester, and then utter domination from like final 8 onward, I'd say. Oh my god.
Well, people compare my first game in Shadows a lot, which are actually different. The difference in Shadows was that instead of allowing things to continue to get dictated by others, I was the person who said, no, there's a majority alliance. It was myself and Lance. We need to get together everyone who's not in that alliance. And it was at 9, that's when I ramped up, because I got everyone together to vote out Bridget. So I don't like comparing those 2 games just because I had a strong end game. For me, Shadows was different because the reason I was able to succeed in Shadows is I was able to protect my allies, which I wasn't able to do in my first game because I didn't know how to do it. And that's why I was so impassioned to protect my allies. Because the only reason I made it to that final 4 was because I had so valiantly protected Albie and had protected Lance. That was the only reason they had loyalty to me and saw me as an asset to bring to 4. So I know they get compared because it's like, oh, Sharifa plays a strong end game. But for me, it was different because it was one game, all my allies left. The other game, I protected them. And that's why I had such a successful end game.
Okay. I know we have to wrap up to just on the time. I wanted to say congratulations. I'm really excited to see you on RHAP because I've been
for a while now,
and you guys have to tune into her episode, of listening to see. Hopefully, Devon will be on tonight. It sounds like she might be.
I think it's been leaked that she is.
I don't really follow Big Brother, but I think I saw a photo of her today. So yeah, Let me think. What else? Of course, I want to make sure people follow you on social media. And Brown Girl Breakdown is the best thing ever. As it's a straight white male. Oh my god!
Thank you. Next week we have our next one. I'm pretty sure we're doing a roundtable. This was the one we were supposed to have a couple weeks back, but then we ended up pushing because of the all women mini. And now Susie and I are we're gonna do it once a month. I think that's the goal because it's just a lot to talk and decompress. But we're gonna look at what it means to play Survivor as a woman of color. We have a couple special guests, which I'm really excited about. That'll be this Wednesday. We're still figuring out. I think we're shooting for 6 now because of Big Brother. So I'll keep you all updated. Yeah.
That'll be on the Podquester Twitch, right?
It'll be on Podquester. Yeah. Make sure if you enjoy me talking about theater, read my plays. Go to Sharifa Yasmin at New Play Exchange. I have 2 plays up there. One of them is about to be published. It's called The Devils Between Us. It is a really personal and important and amazing story that I is my baby. And I will be streaming tonight with Alex Kidwell for the premiere of Big Brother 22. So please make sure to check that out. He's getting together an exciting panel of sequester royalty, as he exclaimed to me. And I think it should be a very fun panel. So make sure to check that out.
Nice. I have one more question though for you before I let you go. On every Friday, I always have a Brant Steele on this. Would you like to be part of the cast for that?
Oh, sure. Yes. Can you not use that awful photo of me though that always gets used for the brand steal? It's where I put I made the background transparent and pink, and it's me looking like this.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Please don't use that one.
I'll use that purple shirt one. But I will let you go to your doctor appointment.
I have my doctor's appointment. Yeah. It's been so fun to be here. So thanks for having me, Mark.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye everyone.
Yeah, this is awesome. She's amazing, isn't she? Okay, so wrapping up, as you know, we have our Brant Steele on Friday at 4:00. She'll be part of it. You can tweet at me at MarkLevy85. Another thing that you guys might not know about, I have this show called Mark Meets World, and it returns on Monday, August 10th, around noon. We're going to have it's basically our Boy Meets World rewatch with myself and a couple friends. That's got a different YouTube page. I can put the link around if you'd like. Thank you guys so much for supporting. This has been great. If you like us, please press like. Please subscribe. We're almost at 100 subscribers. And I'll see you guys on Friday. Have a great